Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me live. Everyone who will be joining me in the replay, thank you for joining me as well. If it's the first time that we're meeting, my name is Isabel from healthandnaturallife.com, and I work with energy healing, animal communication, all things consciousness, pretty much. My background, I was thinking about this, comes from engineering. Now I'm a consciousness engineer, which makes perfect sense. Engineering happens all over nature. We're always trying to figure out how things work to make them practical and bring practical solutions to our everyday lives. That's engineering for us humans and for nature. And this specific video will be on my perspectives about the solutions that we are trying to make practical. And apparently there's a million different things that are just popping from all over the place, and we're feeling pulled in a million different directions to try to make choices, to try to make decisions, to polarize for one thing versus another. And it feels that it's just a mess. Quite honestly, it is. But it's just the surface that's the mess, because underneath all of this, all of the million different things have one very simple, although not necessarily easy, but just one solution. And that's what we'll be talking about. And this video in particular felt inspired to do this week because I've been sharing my perspectives on this with a lot of people, because apparently there is that pull from people in their lives, and you might have the same in your life, of people trying to polarize opinions, decisions, judgments out of us, to be pro this and against that, to be in favor of this being instituted and that being abolished. All types of polarizing opinions are just flying in the air, and new solutions are popping up as well. And I'm talking in all different areas of our lives, in health, in technology, in the environment, in human interactions, in our own humanity even. So there's a lot of moving parts in pretty much all the big areas of our lives, which reminds me of Gregg Braden. He shares very frequently that we are now living in a time of extremes, where there are big cycles for all of these things. There are big cycles for environment. When things start a new period, they come to their natural conclusion, and at the end of a period there's a big shift for the new cycle to start. There's a cycle that's ending now in terms of environment, there's a cycle that's ending now in terms of economics, there's a cycle that's ending now in terms of human social interactions. So he says that even just one of these cycles coming to an end could be a mess, could be hard for us to navigate. All three at once, this is the time. Hi Beata, thank you for joining me live. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, at least that's how it would be pronounced in Portugal, okay? So thank you for joining me live. And we can't deny that, yeah, all these things are happening. All these three major cycles are coming to an end. And it's not by chance, it's not by accident. And it's not by accident that we are here in this time and space ourselves. We are now receiving, and we've talked about this right at the beginning of this series, we are receiving a huge amount of energy from our universal electromagnetic currents, let's just call them that. Berkeley currents, if you're aware of names. We're just receiving huge amounts of high frequency energy in our planet, and the energy that hits the planet then of course gets spread out through the energy lines, the meridians of the planet itself, and influences all life forms, not just us, but all life forms on the planet. And when we are receiving, and we talked about this as well before, when we have a system, let's call it meridians. So when we have meridians that are free and flowing, when you receive a lot of energy, the energy can flow freely through the meridians and even expand them perhaps a bit and make them more resilient, more capable of handling higher flows of energy, of information, of higher frequency. When we have clogs or twists or knots in a meridian or in a system, the added flow of energy just creates pressure against that block, and whatever is causing that knot, that pressure, that block in there is going to be pushed until it either breaks and the energy then flows, or it just explodes or it just dissolves. One of them will happen. It will either be a soft dissolving of things and the energy will flow, or it will break and then the energy will find a path to flow again. Something new will have to be created. And when I talk about systems, it's not just biological systems that have these meridians, these pathways of energy. Everything that exists is a system. So our social structures are systems, our relationships are systems, our governments are systems, our money, I don't even know what to call it. Our money paradigm, or the way that we use money, is also a system. Everything, our health, the way that we view our health, the way that we interact with doctors, all of that is a living system in itself. You can think of this, if you're familiar with Dr. Rupert Sheldrake's work, as morphic fields. So everything, every idea, every being, every concept has a field, a morphic field itself, or a morphogenetic field in terms of biological beings, that has almost the blueprint of its existence. And it has information that's accessed, then can be accessed by other people that then learn that system or that start using it for whatever reason. So it's like us, like little babies, we don't know how to talk, but there's a morphic field with that contains all the information of our particular tongue, mother native tongue, and we start tapping into it because we start in training to the people around us. But that field itself of the language is available, and we're tuning into it to download, so to speak, the information of how to speak, how to make the sounds. So we are tuning into morphic fields, and these morphic fields can either be restricted, can have lots of clogs, and these are the fear-based, fear-based limitation, separation types of systems, which we have a lot in our society at this point in time, or they can be just closer to the truth, so the more expanding, the consciousness, the love-based, the connection-based systems. And those are the systems that are more relaxed, if you want to speak like that, because we've been talking about letting go of tension for pretty much all the videos. The more relaxed, less tense, more expanded systems are able to accommodate the huge energy influx that we're receiving and thrive with it, expand, become even stronger. The ones that are based on force, on contraction, are the ones that are going to be hit with that influx of extra energy and will feel the pressure. And that's what starts to come up in our world because of our fear-based systems, as the problems with health, the problems with race, the problems with environment, the problems with technology, with anything that you want to think of, that you can't think of, it comes from there. Is the energy that's hitting, and it's asking us to just let go of the old way of doing things, because we have to move out of the old paradigm and the old energy of fear and separation and limitation, to let go of the tension, to let the energy start dissolving what needs to be dissolved, and then start creating something new. And I want to share something. I think it's attributed to Albert Einstein. He says that we can't solve the problems, or something to these lines. We can't solve a problem from the same level of consciousness that created it. And this is something that really sank in for me with Dr. David Hawkins' work. Power versus Force, Letting Go, his books. He talks about levels of consciousness. And this is the single problem that I think that we have right now, is that we are, for the most part, stationed at a level of consciousness that oscillates in between fear and anger, and fear and anger. Hi, I'm up now from Arizona. Yeah, you're getting up early. Thank you for joining me live. So we, as a species, overall, most of us are vacillating in between these two levels. Fear, anger, then we might move at some points in time into understanding, into love. But because of the way that our society is created, the basis upon which it was created, which was a basis of separation. From the moment that we're born, we're taught, I'm an individual, I'm separate from everything else, I have to fend for myself. That separation then creates a thought pattern of limitation, because if we are by ourselves in a huge big world, what can we do? We have to fend for ourselves. That creates a feeling, an emotional state of fear. So we're trained from the get-go to be stationed at a level that's not natural at all for us. And that's the level of fear, of competition, of trying then to fix the world outside in order for us internally to feel safe. And the problem with this is that it doesn't really matter how many solutions we can come up with, because for all the problems that we have, the solutions already exist. But if we, as a general rule, are stationed at a level of consciousness that's negative, that's downward pulling, that's contracting in nature, whatever solution comes up will be limited at best, and it will be just downright detrimental to other systems and to life at worst. And a couple of things come to my mind, so I'll see if I can choose the less polarizing ones. For instance, even a while ago in agriculture, when people started to use pesticides to kill the pests from the crops, that at the time felt like a good solution, but it wasn't. It was still a solution based on fear. And other solutions exist already, like permaculture, like using different species of plants to monitor and to keep in balance, in check the pests. And now we're seeing that the pesticides that have been used for however many years seep into the food that we eat, seep into the land, seep into the water, seep into our bodies, and there's a whole array of problems that comes from that. That's because this was a solution that was founded, that came from a place of still fear and the associated greed that comes from that. Like, I need resources, I need them now. It doesn't work. And any solution that we find now, and technology is the one that just pops in my mind the most easily. We have solutions for infinite energy already. We have solutions for communications to be free and available worldwide. And I'm not even talking about 5G. We have solutions for the distribution of water. Those solutions already exist, but the fact that we are, as a species, stationed at a low and contracting energy level will make it so that either one, the solutions will not be coming to the public, which they aren't, because they will be hoarded and kept hidden. Or two, if they do come to the public, and if we do use them in this same level of fear consciousness, they will be used against us. They will be used to manipulate some groups of people, to conquer other groups of people. It's a no-win. There's a no-win situation in anything that we can come up with solutions, so long as we stay stationed at the same level of consciousness. So with all of this, I pretty much just told you what I think that is the problem. It's just one. Anything that comes to the surface is just a reflection, a mirroring of that problem. And the problem is that we are stationed at a level of consciousness that's contracting, that's life-draining, that's destructive by its very nature. So, million problems, there's just one solution. Start raising the level of consciousness. And this is something that we can't do for humanity, we will have to do for ourselves. But the thing is, we don't exist in isolation. We tend to think of ourselves as this being, the body, isolated. But if we can see ourselves more as a series of waves of energy, you can think of your energy field all around you and just imagine it extending and communicating like waves coming in and going out of you. Your system can act like, let's call it a tuning fork, and the stronger and clearer your signal, so you're moving up the levels of consciousness. Let's say that you find yourself moving from fear to anger, which is a natural progression, to neutrality, and then to love. If you, just one person, you, are stationed, anchored at that level of love, your tuning fork self vibrating at that frequency will help influence 750,000 people around you and help bring them from a level of fear to a level of neutrality. Dr. David Hawkins calls it courage. It's the level from which we start seeing the truth, and we're not in a contracted state anymore. We're in a neutral type of state, and from that point on we start expanding. So one person, this is just one person at the level of love, can influence 750,000 people around them. And you probably heard as well of the Maharishi experiments, where a group of people was gathered to meditate, and the effects of the meditation were then measured in the crime rates of the city in which they were meditating. They dropped significantly and for a long period of time. So this isn't something that we're making up. It's not something that's airy-fairy. We are electromagnetic beings. We are interfacing with everything around us. We are interfacing with the magnetic field of our planet as much as the magnetic field of our planet is interfacing with us. So again, one person just at the level of love, and we can go higher than that. We can go into peace, we can go into bliss, we can go even higher. So goals right there. But one person at the level of 750, at the level of love, can influence 750,000 people out of that fear state and into a place of neutrality, and at the same time connecting with the earth and helping the magnetic field of the earth stabilize as well. And that's where the solutions then will come from. Because when we are tuned into a specific level of consciousness, whatever level that is, we are like a radio station tuner. We tune into the radio station of fear, okay? Emotionally, we entrain to that level of consciousness. Just imagine, for instance, if you have someone around you that's really afraid, really frightened, and you're not stable in your own center, in your own ground, you will start entraining to their strong fear, and you'll start feeling fear in your body. And then because you are entraining to that frequency, that level of consciousness of fear, you'll start downloading thoughts from that morphic field or from that level of consciousness of fear. So you'll start thinking about things that are relevant to you, that match that fear signal. Might be your money situation, might be your health, might be your relationships. It doesn't matter. It doesn't even need to be real. You will start projecting things. What if this happens? What if that happens? And it's not because there are fears that are true for you. It's because you have entrained to that level of consciousness, to that particular frequency band, and you're now downloading what's in there. And the same happens for the positive, of course. If you entrain to a level of, I'll use love as an example, but it can be anything else in the positive or expanding life enhancing spectrum of things. If you entrain to a positive energy field of love, life expanding energy field of love, you will tune your radio station, your tuner to that radio station, and you'll start receiving the thoughts. You'll start receiving the ideas. You'll start receiving the solutions, true solutions, expanding, life-giving solutions to whatever problems might be in your life. And what happens individually happens collectively as well. It's the same thing. So you'll start receiving those solutions, and just by you being tuned actually to that level, for a lot of things you won't even need solutions because there won't be a problem anymore. The shift in level of consciousness from that contractive fear to that expanding state of love will resolve things by itself. So when we move up the levels of consciousness, and this I keep repeating it because it feels to us like, yeah, what, just that? No, what, it's an internal thing? I don't have to do anything outside? We can do things outside, but there's nothing more important, more vital, more key for us if we actually want to be of service in our lives and in the lives of the people that we love, in the lives of the collective, in our planet. There's nothing more important than to actually move up the levels of consciousness. When we do that, we move up for ourselves. We actually, even if we aren't the ones bringing forth the solution, we create that influence to all the people around us, and the people who are already closer and who's relevant for them to actually anchor, receive, download the solution. It makes it a lot easier for them to tune into that solution and download that information, anchor it and download it and bring it, so that we all can benefit from it. We do not exist in a vacuum. We're all part of a wave, a collective wave, not just humans, but the entire planet, all life on our planet. We are all part of a wave. So as one person gets up in levels of consciousness, starts helping others rise as well, and for whomever it is relevant to tune in, download, and bring forth the solutions, they will do that. Which leads me to the question of, okay, so there's no action to be made? It depends. It really depends. If for you, if you feel inspired when you tune into from that place of love, you receive, this, I love this. If you feel inspired to do that, if it comes from that expansive place, it is relevant for you, go. Yes, just big hug to you. Go for it, do it. Start spreading that solution, because that's what will bring the true resolution of whatever it is that we are facing right now to a true completion. Let's put it like that. It will bring us to a higher, even higher level of consciousness. But I will ask you then to just consider this when you think of a solution, or you think of a specific issue that you feel charged on, that you feel that you want to help make better, which is beautiful intention. Just think to yourself, what am I feeding? Because a lot of times, let me see if I can use, I'm not thinking about anything that's not polarized, but let me just go general and see. A lot of times we have, let me choose one, whatever. Okay, chemtrails. Let's just choose that. So apparently they came from the very good intention of trying to stop global warming. Okay, if you feel very polarized for or against global warming and you want to help with that, let's say that you feel that intention. So you feel angry about the way things are doing, you want to end that. What exactly are you feeding when you're feeling that way? When you think about global warming, which again is the least polarizing thing that came to my mind, which shows the times that we're on. What do you feel? If you feel anger, if you feel that's an injustice, if you feel that's unfair, if you feel that it's destroying things and you need to help end it, what are you feeding? You're still feeding the fear, you're still feeding the separation, because that's the energy that's alive in you. If you take that energy that you're feeling, that anger, that fear, maybe that injustice, and within yourself you are able to move it from whatever it is, that fear, the anger, into a place of first neutrality, then understanding, then love, that's when you'll start tuning into the real solutions. And that's when you'll start seeing, I don't know, I'm not there, I'm not tuned into it, so a solution, a real solution will come to you, and it will just feel like an expansive thing. It will feel like love, it will feel like compassion, it will feel like inspiration, it will feel expansive, relaxed, and not something that you're fighting against. I hope this makes sense. But you know it, so you have that felt sense when you ask yourself, what am I feeding? If it's coming from that place of fighting something, or even anger or injustice, that is still downloading from the same level of consciousness that created the problem. Move within yourself the feelings, start feeling them, start relaxing the tension, start doing everything that you know to release energy blocks, and you'll start moving into neutrality, into love. And even if you don't do anything on the outside, just the fact that you helped clear the energy within yourself, you help clear for a lot of people around you. And it might very well be that you start having ideas, inspirations, and you start taking just baby steps that feel inspired, that feel expansive, that feel like a curiosity or an excitement to you, and you'll start finding the next step and the next step and the next step until pretty soon you have a different solution that no one had ever thought of before, or it just brought something new to the surface that just made the old problem obsolete and it doesn't exist anymore. And this is pretty much my perspective on the million different issues that we have coming up to the surface at this particular time that we're experiencing. It's not about the things themselves, it's not about the particular problems, it's not about the content, it's about the context. And the context is that we are still tuned into a low and contracting level of consciousness overall. So if we take that, I'm not saying don't do anything about the particular things that are coming up. Do it when it comes from a place of inspiration. If you're trying to fight something, move that energetically, emotionally within yourself. And then when you feel inspired from that place of expansiveness, go ahead and just do what comes from your heart. But as a general, the content will take care of itself when we focus on the context and move ourselves from fear into anger, might be into neutrality, into acceptance, into understanding, into love. We move up the scales of consciousness until we are at that broader, extensive place where we then start tuning in into that high level and start downloading the thoughts, the ideas, the emotions, the actions that are the true solutions or that just make the problems obsolete. We don't have a million things to take care of, we have just one. Raise our own level of consciousness, and by us doing, we're helping everyone around us do it as well. And the more of us actually do this, the faster it becomes for the entire collective, and we can be in a very, very, very different society in a very, very, very short time. So that's my wish for us. That's what I'm tuning into. That's what I'm holding in my awareness, in my loving expectations. I can't use the word expectations, but in my loving wishes for us all and for our beautiful planet, for nature, for all the life forms that we are part of in this co-creation. It's for us to start healing ourselves, healing our species by working individually within us, because the collective is just a collection of individuals. The more we do it for ourselves, the more we are helping everyone else. So I hope this was useful. I hope it gave you perhaps a broader perspective or a new way of looking at things that makes you feel more safe, more grounded, more that you do have something that you can do, and it will help everything all at once, yourself and the entire society and the planet. And just thank you for joining me live. I'm Miguel, thank you for joining me live as well. If you have any questions, just let me know, and I'll see you on the next video.